Hello everybody, this is Alyssa from Meditative Astrology, and I'm here to talk with you about the astrology of the first week of February, February 2nd through February 8th, 2025. We start out Sunday with an Aries moon, and I always like the weeks that start out with the moon in the sign of Aries, just because it's that first sign of the zodiac, of the natural wheel, and anytime that we can start out the week, like starting over, starting fresh, starting new, that can happen many different ways. And the moon starting in the sign of Aries on Sunday is just one of those ways where it feels like we're starting out fresh, we're starting out at the beginning. On Sunday, we also have an exact aspect that is going on. So Venus is conjoining Neptune at 28 degrees of Pisces. Venus is making her last couple day trek through the sign of Pisces, where she's been through the last little while. Neptune is finishing up its transit in the sign of Pisces as well. Neptune has been in Pisces for the greater part since 2011, and later on this year, Neptune is going to ingress into Aries. So we're looking at our last couple passes of Venus coming across Neptune. The reason we're going to have a couple crosses is because Venus is going to go retrograde from the sign of Aries back into the sign of Pisces. So we will be revisiting this aspect one more time. This is the last time that we are going to have Venus and Neptune conjoining in the sign of Pisces for our lifetime. Venus, the planet of love, beauty, desire, harmony, unification, reconciliation, the planet that harmonizes and brings things together, unifies things, allows things to flow, allows them to cooperate, allows them to work together. There's a cohesion and there is a desire to bring things and unify things together when you have Venus placements. Venus in the sign of Pisces, a water sign that is ruled by the planet Jupiter. You have a very emotionally connected, a dreamy, artistic Venus. You have a Venus that wants to express herself in a emotionally charged way. Now that could be that we are reaching deep into our emotions. That could be that we are expressing ourselves creatively through something that invokes some sort of feeling or some sort of emotion within it. We could be reaching deep into those emotions. We could also be trying to find a way to resolve or step away from those emotions in several different ways. The planet Neptune. Neptune connects us deeply to things. It reaches into higher purpose, whatever that means and however that's playing out for you. So when we have Neptune aspects, we are called to look at higher meanings of things. We are called to look at our purpose. We are called to search within our soul. We find deep meanings. There is intimacy and there is deep immersive energy when we have Neptune energy at play. So when you have Venus and Neptune coming together in the sign of Pisces, you have this possibility to immerse yourself within the Venus feeling. You are able to immerse yourself within love, beauty, harmony, desire. You have a desire to connect deeply to things. There could be intuitive prompts and intuitive connections. When that connection and that higher purpose, it can be connecting you to some sort of energetic component, so connecting to our higher selves, connecting to a higher universal energy, God, creator, whatever that universal energy is for you within your own book. And we can be looking to find those deeper connections within different ways. We can be looking to deeply immerse ourselves in that Piscean energy. Now, I mentioned before that there's that emotional connection. It's a water sign. So water signs, they tend to collect things. They bring things in, bring things kind of close. Think about Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces and kind of that similarity that they have. They all have an emotional connection and they draw things in and they hold things in. They bring things in and kind of keep it within its possession, not necessarily keeping it in as like a internal type thing, but it keeps it draws energies in and draws in different emotions and different connections with different people. So this is a very harmonizing aspect that can leave us very deeply connected, inspired, and it can bring greater understandings. It could connect us deeply to some sort of passion that we have. It could have us feeling creatively inspired. There could be new feelings, thoughts. We could be wanting to create something. And on a maybe not quite so positive, that immersive energy, wanting to immerse ourselves into that feel-good energy of Venus. it could be a little bit of an escapism. There are times where escapism is not so bad. There are times where, maybe if things have been, reality has been very, very strong, maybe a little bit tough, then maybe the escapism is that we allow ourselves to go rest. We allow ourselves to go relax. We take time to care for ourselves. On the maybe not so positive level, we are escaping reality through maybe a less positive means. So maybe some sort of substance or avoidance of a situation, avoidance of responsibility, some sort of over-immersion of that feel-good energy. But then on that positive side, it can leave us feeling deeply connected. With the moon in the sign of Aries this day, there could be the feeling or the desire to move forward, to go forward with that energy, with that, think of the ruler of Aries is the planet Mars, and Aries is very forward, starting, cardinal energy of initiating things. So maybe we are initiating something through the weekend, through Saturday, Sunday into Monday, that connects us deeply to our purpose, connects us to our creative endeavors, connects us deeply to whatever it is that you connect to. That can be yourself. That can be projects and artistic things. That could be what you are creating. That could be connections with others. Water signs connect us deeply with others. And it can be connecting with your higher self or whatever that greater universal energy is to you, that God source energy, and however that means for you. Lovely energy that we have coming through here on Sunday. And then we move forward to Monday. Monday, February 3rd. The moon will be in the sign of Aries for most of this day too. We still have that Neptune Pisces energy coming through, but if you look at the chart, you'll notice that Venus in Pisces has moved from the 28th degree into the 29th degree. So this is going to bring Venus into a conjunction with the North Node that has just recently moved into the sign of Pisces. Now these two aspects, since Neptune is at 28 degrees and the North Node is at 29 degrees, you can say that these two aspects are happening simultaneously, and they might even be kind of happening, coexisting together within a way. So when you have the North Node coming into contact with Venus, there is a way in which we are considering the path that we are on, and we are focusing on that path. Anytime you have a planet in a conjunction with one of the nodes, it's automatically in opposition to the other node. So Venus coming into a conjunction with the North Node puts it into an opposition with the South Node. Anytime that we are looking at the nodes, there is a consideration of where we have been, what has happened, everything that has led up to this moment, where we're going, and what comes next, what the next step is, where we're going from here. It can be a bit of a tug and a pull between where we've been, where we're going, what we've learned, what we have yet to learn. It's that whole consideration of the path and where you've been moving. When it's Venus coming into contact with the North Node, it's considering those Venusian qualities. So where do I find joy? What is serving me well? Where is there balance, harmony, and love within my life? Where am I not fully able to enjoy myself within life? Very well considering the house that Pisces falls in within your own chart. I use the whole sign house system. If you use another system, then you can look at the house that Pisces falls in within your own birth chart, but there's a good chance that it will start to correlate with the topics of that house. And really it's a sneak peek at that North Node and Pisces energy that we're going to be sitting with for about the next year and a half. Our eclipses are switching from the Aries Libra axis into the Pisces Virgo axis. So there's a shift of that energy that has been happening, and there's a shift and a change that happens about every year and a half or so. To where there's going to be a focus in different houses as well as different topics in different areas of our life. So this is a little bit of a sneak peek. So the desire to move forward in a peaceful manner, wanting to consider all of those Piscean Venusian things that we talked about relating to Sunday. I mentioned how the moon was in the sign of Aries Sunday into Monday. With the moon in the sign of Aries, as well as the North Node being right there next to this conjunction with Venus and Neptune, and then Venus coming right into that conjunction with the North Node, very much could feel the draw to move forward in some way, whether that's taking actions, whether that's considering the different emotions and the connections and the way things make us feel. There could be a longing for these things, a longing and maybe a consideration of like a contemplating consideration of, you know, I'm really considering how I've been able to care for myself in this aspect and how I haven't cared for myself, or how I've cared for others and how I haven't cared for others, and contemplating on that. Pisces is a very contemplative sign that brings in all of the things and considers all of the things, and maybe all of those things kind of at one time. So there is this forward energy as we are starting out this week. At the same time, we have Jupiter coming into a trine with Mercury. So Jupiter is at 11 degrees of Gemini, and Mercury will be moving into the 11th degree of Aries. So this is an air trine. When we have trines that are of the air element, we are considering ideas, communications, understandings, the way we communicate with others, the way we are able to take in information, as well as the way we are able to portray and give information. So this aspect coming through at the same time that we have the Venus Pisces energy going on, has us looking at the big picture. Mercury in the sign of Aquarius, the last air sign within the zodiac wheel, and understanding the small parts. Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. Gemini wants to consider all of the information of all of the different parts. It wants to bring in all of the things together, and it wants to understand all of those little things. Maybe not bringing all those things together as far as like unifying them, but understanding all of the different pieces and wanting to bring in as much information as it possibly can. Elaborate ideas, expansion of ideas, multiple ideas, idealistic ideas. So Mercury in the sign of Aquarius, which is ruled by Saturn, a Saturn air sign, it could be looking for ideals within thoughts and opinions. It could be looking for the highest expression of the ideas and the way to communicate. So when you have Mercury in the sign of Aquarius, wanting to communicate whatever the perceived highest ideal and highest expression of the energy that we are considering, the ideas, the thoughts, and the communications, wanting to reach the highest, almost godlike expression. And then you have Jupiter in the sign of Gemini that wants to understand and bring in all the information, all of the things. You have this ability to exchange information well, and these planets are flowing together. So you can see all the little details and have curiosity when it comes to lots of different information. But at the same time, you're going to have the ability to see the broader picture and have kind of that broad spectrum idea. You know, Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury, so Jupiter is in Mercury's sign. That brings a little bit of a receptivity and an extra connection between these two planets that allows them to work well together. Mercury is able to help Jupiter because Jupiter is within its own sign. So while Jupiter in Gemini has been considering bringing in lots of information and lots of different parts for us since 2024. Now we have Mercury in the sign of Aquarius that is going to allow us to take all of these little pieces of information, and then how can we put them together for the betterment of our situation, the betterment of our ideas? How can we express our ideas a little bit better? How can we work together and unify these two together in order to be able to grow and have some sort of progress from all of the different information and ideas and the different things that we've learned, that we've brought in together. So cool energy coming through here Monday as we have this idealistic, romantic, artistic expression, as well as this ability to communicate ideas, maybe be able to share what it is that we want to create, how being able to communicate that Piscean energy, where Pisces, it's very good at feeling into the energies and having all of the things going on, but it's not always able to express. So maybe this trine that we have going at the same time will kind of help bring that intellectual thing into where we have the emotional stamina. So bringing in the intellectual stamina as well as the emotional aspect of it as well. It feels like a good addition to the energy that we have going on. Now, at the same time, when you have a trine, trines are of the nature of Jupiter, between Jupiter and Mercury, there could be the possibility to say too much, speak too much, maybe not listen enough to others, and perhaps get caught up too much in your own ideas. However, at the same time, maybe getting caught up in your own ideas and your own motivations and that connection that Venus-Neptune is bringing, maybe it's going to be just enough to allow you to get the work done that you need, whatever that may be for you. Moving on to Tuesday, February 4th, we have the moon in the sign of Taurus this day. It's going to square Pluto and it's going to square Mercury, so keeping that in mind. We don't have any exact aspects that are going on this day, but this is the day where Venus is going to move into the sign of Aries. So it's like boom, boom, boom this week for Venus. She's going to come into contact with Neptune, the North Node, and then she's going to move into the sign of Aries. So Venus moving into the sign of Aries is going to be very different than Venus in the sign of Pisces, where Venus in Pisces has been very emotionally, collectively charged and wanting to can bring in all of the different things that artistic and romantic and dreamy ideas that we have been talking about. Very different from Venus in the sign of Aries. Now she's going from the water sign of Jupiter into the fire sign of Mars. Mars is in the sign of Cancer, so that Mars in Cancer, which is retrograde, is going to be ruling Venus in the sign of Aries. Venus in Aries is very fiery, very bold, very outspoken, can be loud, can be extroverted, can be assertive, can be fighting for, or that warrior type. Mars is the warrior god, and its home is Aries, the starting sign, the cardinal sign that initiates things, the like ready, set, go sign. So having that fighter or that warrior aspect within the sign of Aries and Venus moving in there, we may be willing to fight for what we love, fight for our needs and our desires and what we want to create. We might be willing to put a little bit more effort into the harmonization and the unification that Venus naturally likes to bring. Now, this is not a place where Venus is naturally able to do what she likes to do. She likes to be able to have things flow. She likes things to work well and be cohesive. She is the ruling planet of of Libra, which is the opposite sign of Aries. So she's actually considered to be in her detriment, which just means that it's not that she can't do anything, but she's not able to act the way that Venus normally likes to. Venus in Pisces is in her exaltation, much more of a natural environment to how Venus likes to portray and how Venus likes to act and likes to come across things. However, when she moves into the sign of Aries, she's going to bring in those traits of Mars as well as her own traits. So fighting for, protecting your own space and your own energy and maybe your own family, and fighting for your own rights and your own self-care, especially since Mars is retrograde in the sign of Cancer, the sign that is ruled by the moon and has natural significations of the body, the family, nurturing, motherhood, the memory body, and all of those close-knit environment type things. Cancer naturally is cautious and nurturing. With Mars being there, we are revisiting and reviewing, we are fighting for, we are standing up for, we are willing to go to battle to protect ourselves, to protect others, and to be able to care for those intimate spaces. So Venus in the sign of Aries, ruled by that Mars in the sign of Cancer that is retrograde, is going to pick up those traits of being the warrior love goddess in a way. Aries is the sign where Venus is going to go retrograde this year. So March 2nd, Venus will retrograde in the sign of Aries. That retrograde period starts on March 2nd. So we will be talking about that upcoming. So these first degrees that Venus is going to move across in the sign of Aries, if you have any planets that are there, she's going to move across those planets 3 different times. She's going to move across it now through the forward motion, retrograde fashion, and then once she goes direct and is out of retrograde, she will move across those planets 1 more time. So keep in mind that we will have this Aries Venusian energy for a bit of an extended period. She will step back into Pisces for a little while, but we're going to be visiting this energy multiple times, and she's going to be here for an extended period of time. So again, big week for Aries, or for big week for Venus coming through here this week. As she comes across Neptune, the North Node, and then moves into the sign of Aries. And then moving into Wednesday, February 5th. Coming into that first quarter moon. The first quarter moon is the first turning point of the lunar cycle. It's the first turning point after the new moon. So if the new moon is a seeding point, an initiating point, thinking of like planting the seeds in a garden or planting the seeds in wherever Aquarius is in your chart, since that's where our new moon was. Now that we have the first quarter, this is the turning point or the individuating phase of the lunar cycle. So when you have the first quarter coming through it comes through the first square, the opening square to the sun, you have this separation from the inception point. So if the new moon is the seeding point, then the first quarter is the individuating point where that plant is starting to be able to, or the idea or that energy is now able to start coming into its own. So between if we're thinking about this, the analogy of like growing a plant, I love that analogy because I love gardening. I'm a Taurus sun, and so if the new moon is the seeding point where the seed is planted, then from the new moon into the first quarter, you have that first little period where the seed has been planted, it needs to germinate, and that it needs to push up out of the soil. Now that takes a lot of love, care, tenderness, a lot of focus, a lot of nurturing. Once that plant comes up, it still needs lots of care. It still needs to be tended to, but it's able to be seen. You're starting to see that plant coming up. You're seeing that seedling coming into its own being. It's now taking in the sunlight and the nutrients from above ground, and it starts growing so quickly. So you have this individuating. So whatever was initiated within the new moon in the sign of Aquarius, this first quarter is where you start to see the growth. You start to see where the work is coming in. You still have to tend to it. It's not that it's in its full expression or anything like that yet. That's the full moon and just a little bit after the full moon. But you start to see where the seeds that were planted that are maybe, once they're planted, they're underground, they're not totally seen yet by ourselves or by others. Now you're starting to see it grow. You're starting to see where the potential is for this plant, because you can, or this energy, because you can feel it coming up and you can see it. You can physically see it coming up and coming through here. So no exact aspects, but we have that first quarter moon coming through on Wednesday, February 5th. And then moving into Thursday, February 6th, no exact aspects here either. So we have the moon in the sign of Gemini essentially all day on Thursday. Moving into Gemini, 1:43 a.m. Eastern Time, and it's going to conjoin Jupiter at 11 degrees. This is some good fruitful growth energy. It may play well with that trine that we had earlier in this week where we had Jupiter and Mercury coming across through that air trine. So it may be a little bit of a continuation of that or work with that energy in some way. So again, no exact aspects that we have going on Thursday. Moving into Friday, we have the moon. There we go, Friday. We have the moon in the sign of Gemini, yet again, still moving through those later degrees of Gemini. It's going to come into a square with Saturn once it hits 18 degrees. So that's an interesting square to just pay attention and see what happens. We have a sextile between Venus and Pluto coming through Friday, this day. Really, as soon as Venus enters the sign of Aries on Tuesday, that's when we start having this applying aspect of Venus moving into the sextile with Neptune, Venus moving into the sextile with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. So really, this is something that you could be feeling from Monday, really through the whole week, but from Tuesday through Friday and in through the weekend, that's where you might feel it, like Tuesday through Friday, that's where you start feel the energy growing. And this is a cooperative aspect between the two. It's a sextile. It's of the nature of Venus. And as Venus comes into that sextile, it's going to intensify that fire of Venus in the sign of Aries in some way. So however Venus in the sign of Aries is showing up for you, and whatever house that is located in within your own chart, there could be a quick, maybe subtle, but powerful moment that shows up here on Friday related to that. There could be deep motivations, deep moving energies. So intensifying that fiery Venusian energy that we have coming through. There could be a depth of desire. We could be fighting for our ideals and how we care for ourselves and how we fill our cups and how others fill our cups. All of those Venusian type things. When Venus sextiles Pluto, she may, Venus in the sign of Aries is courageous and willing to initiate, willing to start. But when she comes into that sextile with Pluto right off the bat too, she may be willing to reach deep within the hidden, shadowy, unseen type areas. And the unseen or untouched areas of our mind and of our collective ideals, because Pluto's in the sign of Aquarius, where it's going to be for the next almost 20 years. So Venus in the sign of Aries, that is this warrior goddess that we are talking about, here coming through this first week of February, she can reach deep within to face her fears, those things that have been pushed aside or have been avoided. She may be willing to address those things or create some sort of balance and harmony out of them. This is really some empowering energy for Venus coming through this week as she moves into the sign of Aries. And then, so that's cool energy that we have. Really, there is a stark difference from Sunday, was it February 2nd, into like Saturday, Sunday, February 8th and 9th of the Venus energy. She really takes quite a turn. So you may start to feel that difference within you wherever Venus is acting and wherever Pisces and Aries is within your own life and your own chart. And then we move into Saturday, where the moon is going to move into the sign of Cancer, 6:04 a.m. Eastern time. Again, translate to your own time zone. And no exact aspects between the planets, but the moon is going to make a couple aspects. The moon is going to square Neptune. It's going to square the nodes of the moon, both of them, the north and the south node. Remember, anytime that a planet is an aspect to one of the nodes, it's going to be aspecting the other node as well. And then she's going to square Venus. So we have 3 squares from the moon coming through. These aspects to the moon, they can act as triggers. So they can be They're quick, they can be subtle, or they can be loud, but they are triggering or moving moments. So they can show up many, many different ways for people. So just noting the energies and how that Cancer energy feels throughout these different times of the day. So that square to Neptune at almost 3 a.m. in the morning, if you're not sleeping, 5:06 a.m. first thing in the morning, and the square to Venus at 11:27 a.m. Yeah, so we have some fun, some inspiring, and some intense energies that we have coming through this week. But it feels like a very, very empowering week, and a week that we are able to move forward. We are able to consider, we are able to contemplate, but then we are also able to move forward as the week goes on at the same time. So that is the astrology that we have for the first week of February. Remember that we always have astrological meditations on Sundays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Those are astrological meditations that are based on an intention that we come up with that is released on Saturday. We talk about the energies and then we meditate on them on Sunday. This allows us to step into the energy in the week in a productive, unifying, and working with the energies that are around. You know, here when we talk about the astrology for the week, we're able to kind of look at the more positive and maybe less positive or less ideal possibilities. When we go through the meditation, we step into the positive and we work with the energies. So it's finding a way to collaborate with them and step into that meditation and contemplate and collaborate with the energies based on whatever it is that we have going on within our own lives. I want to take a moment to ask you to like, follow, subscribe, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. All of that helps so very much, more than you realize it does. So yeah, thank you for sticking with me to talk about the energies of this week, and we will see you again next week, and then we'll see you on Sunday for the weekly meditation. I hope everybody has a lovely, wonderful, empowering, and inspiring week.